Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Arsaholics podcast. Thanks for joining us. You've got a different two of us from last week. We'd like to change it up a little bit. We've got myself and we've got Mize. So myself, Raj, for those who are obviously listening just on the audio and can't see my newly shaven head. I just gave it a little trim before the video. So hello, Mize. How's it going?
Good, mate. Good. Looking sharp. Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm a happy Arsenal fan today, as we all are.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. We talked about when me and Aaron were doing the last pod, and we talked about how, given it was a really good result against Villa, we want to indulge in the positivity because, who knows when we're going to get our next bad result and we have to complain and moan and talk about issues. But it's a great feeling again. Yeah, it's a great podcast feeling again, isn't it? I mean, you watched the whole game this time.
yeah. I mean, I've been a bit not unfortunate, but I've not been able to watch the games properly. The last couple of games properly. Obviously, I've been away on holiday. I missed the Palace game. I was on a flight, landed with about 20 minutes to go, so saw the Lacazette equaliser on my phone while waiting for my baggage claim. And then the Villa game I watched in a bar, and by the 40th minute I was absolutely trash, so I don't remember too much of the game, but I know it was a very, very good performance and a good win. So this one I set myself up nicely in my front room, no distractions, got to watch the game properly, which was nice, which means hopefully I should be able to talk about it properly as well.
Yeah, and let's do that, man, because sorry, I'm just going to close my WhatsApp because I'm getting loads of pinging messages, but yeah, let's do that. I mean, early kickoffs, a lot of people don't like playing on the early kickoff, right? Because it's got the ability to ruin your weekend. And it's also got the ability to really set it up and be really relaxed for the rest of the games. And that's kind of what we did, right? We kicked up with the same team that we played against Aston Villa. So there was nice continuity there in the side. So there was Lacazette playing in that, on the face of it, playing in the hole again, Odegaard left on the bench. Tavares continuing on the left and Kieran Tierney still allegedly sort of struggling with his fitness at the moment, but we started at 100 miles an hour, didn't we, mate? I mean, yeah. What did you make of the start?
Yeah, it's become a bit of a trademark, hasn't it, for us in recent weeks? We seem to be starting games much brighter, sort of coming out the blocks faster than the other team, which is nice to see, because it's often something that it's a criticism that we've thrown at Arsenal teams in recent years, where we've just started games really badly, conceded early goals, and always set ourselves up for failure. So that's really, really good to see. And yeah, we started the game really well. Like that first, I don't know, what was it, 25 minutes, 30 minutes? I know we scored the second in the 19th minute, but there was, I think, the first 25 minutes or so. I thought that in all areas of the pitch, we were very, very, very good, and we weren't playing, a home game against a kind of a poorer team. If you look at Leicester over the last couple of seasons, they've been better than us in the league, and have been on the rise and are doing good things under Brendan Rodgers. So we weren't going somewhere, we weren't going to a ground where almost we were. I don't know how many people expected us to win. I think you predicted a win. I think Aaron had predicted a win. I thought it would be a draw, to be honest. I thought we might struggle and it might be a tough game. But yeah, we came out of the blocks flying, and from front to back, when we didn't have the ball and when we did have the ball, we seemed to really implement the plan, and that was really, really good to see. The setup from, like I said, when we didn't have the ball and going into this kind of 4-4-2 shape, and almost having this mentality of Aubameyang and Lacazette will do a job from the front, and if you get past them, then you've got this kind of central midfield solid partnership of Lokonga and Partey, and if you get past them, then don't worry, the back four will sort it out. If you get past them, then it's Aaron Ramsdale, and I know we're going to come on to all of that, and obviously with the ball, we were absolutely flying. I think from the first minute, we looked really, really dominant, very, very dangerous, and we were nicely rewarded in that first 20 or so minutes with obviously a couple of goals, which ended up winning us the game.
And what do you think it is that we are doing so well? Because when we previewed the game, we talked about how Leicester, well, obviously you're not culpable for this comment because you weren't on the pod, but Aaron and I were talking about how Leicester was essentially the biggest challenge of our new post-transfer window era, And we're saying, going away to a team who are on paper a very good team, a very good attacking team, a team that scores lots and lots of goals. On paper, there was nothing that said this game was going to be easy, aside from the fact that Leicester have had some challenges, conceding goals. But when you go somewhere like Leicester and you can dominate the ball as much as we did in the first 25, dominate the pace, dominate kind of just the control of the game, what is it that we are doing now that, in your opinion, is making us so able to do that?
I think it was a case of like we were all, a lot of us were obviously understandably unhappy with the start of the season, and there was always this message of, trust the process. We need patience. This is a new project. It's a new manager, a manager with very little experience, lots of young players, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that we've talked about since the start of the season, probably going well before then as well. And I think what we're starting to see now in some of these performances, even if we're only getting it in sort of almost like chunks, like the first 25 minutes of the game, and then Leicester seem to come back, what we're seeing now is almost the team and the strategy from Arteta clicking, I feel. And I just think he's almost found this setup, as I touched on before. It means that Erdegaard's not playing. It means that Pepe's not playing, but he's almost found this kind of formula that really seems to work. Maybe it's going to be game by game, and maybe for the next game against Watford, it might look a little bit different. Who knows? But I think for the time being, it feels like his ideas, what he's wanted from this group of players, and the fact that he's brought in his players now, with 5 of those new, I think it was all 5 of the summer signings started. I could be wrong. I think they did on Saturday. So, I think it's just that gradual process is we're now starting to see it. And I'm not getting carried away and saying, we're going to obviously win we're not going to win every game from now until the end of the season. But like I said, in patches, in parts of the game or sections of the game, you're starting to see that massive improvement, and us really dominating games. And I think that's what it comes down to, mate. Like, I think it's just that formula that Arteta's probably been trying to implement. We're now at a point where we're just starting to sort of to see the benefits from that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, mate, because I think the more and more you read about what Arteta is trying to do, what he's allegedly trying to do by people who either have had, insights through kind of being on coaching networks, or people who are like really, really kind of, in-depth tactical analysts on Twitter, on various blogs, they all talk about clearly a huge amount of tactical complexity that he has, and a lot of discipline that he requires in terms of where players are on the pitch in every single scenario of where the ball could be, and how he uses this kind of grid system, how he's breaking the pitch into, squares everywhere. And he's effectively saying, if the ball's here, this is where you need to be. If the ball's there, this is where you each need to be. Now, I wonder actually whether this stuff's just quite complicated, and actually some players just take a longer to understand and longer to learn some of those very sort of prescriptive measures. And I wonder when I watched Leicester, when I watched that first kind of 25, 30 minutes anyway, and I just watched how, quite frankly, whenever we wanted to get the ball, we were getting the ball. So Leicester were being so suffocated. Leicester couldn't do anything. Leicester did, like, if they were trying to exploit a space somewhere, all of a sudden it was completely shut down. They looked so fed up, and I wondered whether it was literally our players just having a lot more of this tactical kind of prescriptiveness of understanding exactly where they need to be all the time. And that kind of makes it, maybe it kind of goes under the radar, and it looks like, oh, everyone's running everywhere and everyone's pressing and everyone's harassing. Yeah, I think that's probably an element of it, but I think they're doing it in an incredibly intelligent way. This isn't just a manager that's shouting, everyone press, everyone run hard, everyone try hard. This is someone who's being very, very specific about what they do. I mean, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I think I've read probably the same piece that you're referring to about the positions of players in different scenarios. And yeah, like I think I completely agree. If you think it's been 2 years now, pretty much, since Arteta's taken over, and he's had that 2-year period to almost assess the players that we had or he inherited, and the players that were basically going to be up for taking on this challenge of understanding this new kind of tactical master plan and understanding what he wants to implement. And the players that he didn't want, he's now we could probably say that they've all been moved on, or are no longer part of the team or part of the club. So I feel like, if you think about it from his perspective, he's now looking at, he walks into the training ground on a Monday morning, whatever, and he sees the group of players that he's working with, and they're all players that he now wants to have. around the club, and that must help massively with him being able to implement everything you just said.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what it feels like, he's got his squad. He's had some time, and if these are the behaviors that top clubs need to have to be successful, then I'm all for it, right? And so I think we've been, you and I, the Arseholics podcast in general, I think have been like very, very patient with the journey, and we've really wanted it to work. And it's nice to see those fruits of labor, but okay, again, we're quite early. A lot can happen. We haven't achieved anything yet. But let's just, if we go back to that first 25. So there was that domination. I remember I messaged because Aaron wasn't able to watch at the time, and I remember messaging saying, that we're dominating and deserve to score, and we did. We scored from a set piece. I don't know if you remember this bit because it was really random. Do you remember how? So we had a corner effectively from one side of the pitch. The corner came in, and it kind of came off do you remember this? It came off a Leicester play. It came off a Leicester play. So it's going for a corner. And I think Gabriel sprints to stop the ball going out and tries to boot it out for a throw in. Do you know,
and normally when that happens, the referee will probably give a goal kick because he thinks, he might just go on, oh well, no Arsenal player is going to appeal for this. If I give a goal kick, no Arsenal player is going to appeal for it. But I think I'm pretty sure I saw like Tomiyasu, maybe a couple of other players start running back, thinking it is a goal kick. So that was a bit random. That was a bit weird. So obviously, it was Vardy. I think he got the flick on in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And and Gabriel makes that attempted clearance, which doesn't work. But hey ho, the irony of it, he scores a really towering header. I mean, what do you have to say about that? Is it from the back of his head, wasn't it?
I watched it a couple times. I wasn't sure if it was the back of his head or like it came off his back. And to be honest, I'm still not sure. Was it definitely off his head?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of from the back of his head. It reminded the first thing I thought about, mate, was, do you remember in the Europa League when I can't remember who it was exactly, but we were away to someone and he scored this outrageous header.
Olympiacos? It might have been Olympiacos. I know, far post. And
he kind of scored this like dipping header from a really weird part of his head. And I was like, wait, that header is intentional. He knows this guy he's got previous at using random parts of his head to score goals.
Yeah, he seems to be a bit of a. I mean, like he's a very, very physical defender, and I think that comes across when we do seem to have set pieces or corners because he's very dominant in the air, isn't he? Which is really, really good. I mean, look, in terms of the goal, I think we've all picked up on. Number one, like the quality of corner delivery has improved massively in the last. I don't actually know when this started. I've noticed it the last game, obviously Leicester, the Leicester game yesterday. But when you've got Smith Rowe and Saka pretty much taking all of your set pieces, I mean, we watched, what game did we go to last week? And Suarez was taking corners. What game was it last week? A couple of weeks ago.
If you mean Cedric Suarez.
So it was
I guess if he was telling, it would have been Leeds.
And that was pretty disappointing. But in Premier League, in terms of Premier League games, Saka one side, Smith Rowe the other. I don't know if it's something that they're working on, or they're just obviously they're both very, very good players, right? And very technically good players. So I wouldn't be surprised that they just know how to take corners. But it does feel like something that they're working on, especially Smith Rowe's corners. Like he has this technique where I know it was Saka's corner that got us the goal, but just on Smith Rowe, like his corners seem to have this technique where he really whips it hard and flat, and it must be quite difficult from a defensive perspective to be able to defend those because he's getting them into the like really dangerous areas as well. They're not being hit hard and flat and hitting the first man. They're getting, into the area in front of the goalkeeper. So that's really nice to see. And I think I'm not surprised that, we've scored, is it 5 goals from set pieces or corners in the last 4 games, something like that? Is that the stat?
It is something like that. I think people are being somewhat generous of what qualifies as a set piece goal. Like I think some people are classifying the Lacazette goal against Crystal Palace as a set piece goal because the moves stuff. But you're right, mate. I mean, like it's. I agree with everything that you said. It was interesting what Emile Smith Rowe said after the Villa game. When they were asking him about corner taking because he took the corner for Partey's goal, and I think he said he goes, like we don't actually have many right-footed free kick takers, so it's something that I've been trying to work on, which is interesting. And again, it's great to see the young guy, the guy who's just improving so much, just being that aware, I think, and wanting to step up and be that guy. I completely agree about the nature of the of the set pieces. And I mean, how much can we don't know, but we could probably assume that some of it's got to do with the new coach that came in, who I believe came from Man City. Jova, I've forgotten his first name, but I'm pretty sure it's
Nicholas, I think it is.
Yeah, perhaps Nicholas Jova. And he replaced is it Jorgson? George Jorgson, I want to say his name was. He was from Brentford last season, I think. And clearly he was someone that so Jova was clearly someone that Arteta had worked with. He seemed really happy because I remember Arteta saying when we signed him, he kind of gave an interview and he was like, someone came on the market recently and we signed him. His name is da 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 da, and he was clearly very happy with him. And clearly it is paying off. So it's lovely to see actual work in the training ground. Coming off on the pitch, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah, hopefully it is a consequence of the work that we're doing on the training ground or in the training ground. And it's not just a sort of a coincidence that we've just scored quite a few goals from set pieces in recent weeks. But yeah, look, it's nice to see. And I think definitely, like I said, the two players that are actually delivering the corners are doing so in a very kind of, it seems like their percentage of their corners that get into dangerous areas is much higher than before. Because I remember before, I don't know if it's Pepe, I can't remember who was taking corners like last season or the season before. I remember like us just constantly putting our head in our hands like, oh my God, he's hit the first man again, It was really frustrating. So yeah, it just gives us a bit of another dimension, doesn't it? And it makes us like dangerous from, in another dimension or in another way. So good to see. And hopefully like when the challenges come in terms of defending set pieces at the back, I know we didn't have too much of that at the weekend, but when that time comes in those games where we're under the cosh a bit and corners are flying in, hopefully we see the same kind of positive effect where we're able to deal with them defensively too.
Yeah, agree. And the second goal was a completely different natured goal. It was quite interesting. So suddenly it felt like when you reflect on the game, a narrative starts developing a little bit, right? Because you have James Maddison, this player who we were heavily linked with in the summer, rightly or wrongly, like still to this day, there's no real proof of anything. And there was the whole debate of, if we're ambitious, we'll sign Maddison. If we're not, we'll sign Odegaard. You had all the, divided Arsenal Twitter, blah, 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 as it always is. We don't sign Maddison. And he actually struggled to really break back into the Leicester team this season. But, yesterday, against us on Saturday, he did start. And this second goal was interesting, wasn't it? Because I was really confused when I was watching it because it almost looked like, Leicester had the ball. They were kind of trying to construct an attack. Maddison kind of comes into a central area of the pitch, and I believe he gets tackled. He kind of just loses the ball, but he reacts almost like there's been a foul. It's almost like the Leicester players are just stopped, and Arsenal just sort of carry on. And that millisecond of Leicester just kind of stopping and Maddison just kind of stopping. Suddenly, very, very quickly, we're in their box. Lacazette is in their box. Lacazette kind of makes a bit of space. The ball then breaks off a defender, and Emile Smith-Rowe is in like a very beautiful Lampard-esque style run, arriving at the right place, right time. Do you know what I mean? Like and we've talked about this about him becoming that sort of player. But anyway, like, what did you think of that goal? Because I think we fully deserved it, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. We fully deserved it. I mean, it was a bit weird what happened with Leicester losing the ball and their move breaking down. I don't think it was a very difficult pass that Maddison had to make, but for whatever reason he mispassed it to our benefit. But I think it's Partey who picks it up, and then you just see Saka like pull out wide, like he just drifts out wide ever so slightly. It was not like he's had to sprint. He just moves out wide into a little bit of space, and then Partey sees him and just dinks over a nice little kind of chipped ball into his path. And from there, like we're not in, but we're in a very, very good position. But even like what you were saying about Leicester seem to stop when they lose the ball. I think I paused it at the point that Lacazette, like the ball ricochets off Lacazette, or he tries to control it and he sort of loses the ball. At that point, I paused it and I saw, I think 3 Arsenal players in the box: Saka, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and obviously Smith-Rowe kind of about to enter the box. And then they had like 7 Leicester players in the box, so they had plenty of numbers back. To be fair to them, but yeah, exactly like Smith-Rowe, as you said, just arriving at the perfect moment. He does seem to have a knack for that, which is very, very handy for a midfield player. And really, really good finish. Like he kind of gets enough power on it. Like he doesn't have to hit it into the corner. There's Leicester defenders in front of him. Schmeichel sort of central in the goal, and he hits it with enough power that Schmeichel can't get to it, but he knows that, and he doesn't have to. I don't think he's in a position to place it in the corner. He's got to hit it first time. There's Leicester defenders in front of him, so he sort of hits it between the two Leicester defenders, but hard enough so that Schmeichel basically doesn't have a chance. And like the boy is delivering now, isn't he? Like it's kind of like when Saka break into the team, and then he had last season was not his breakthrough season, but he started delivering goals, assists. And it feels like now Smith Rowe's doing that. I think that's three Premier League goals this season.
I think so.
Not bad.
Yeah.
And something that, is very, very good to see. And it feels like, this is a separate conversation, but it almost feels like it's a no-brainer for him to be called up for the England squad based on what he's doing at the moment as well.
Yeah, you're right. It's a separate conversation. We could probably actually have that conversation after the Watford game, because I believe there's an international break after that. So it will be interesting, because I had an interesting debate on Saturday with a couple of non-Arsenal fans about what they thought about ESR and England squad, etc. So that'll be good to talk about. But you're right, you're totally right. He is delivering, and at this point he delivers, and we are 2-0 up. Now it's interesting, isn't it? Because you're 2-0 up against Leicester away from home. You're approaching the half-hour mark, and you've been in control, and I think predictably Leicester came back into it a little bit, and then sort of grew. Now here's the thing: we have got to, I think, about 20 minutes of talking, and we have not mentioned the name Aaron Ramsdale, which I mean. Yeah. Shame on us in some ways, but actually, to be fair, for that first kind of period of time, that first period we just covered, he didn't really have to do anything.
It was quiet.
But then he really did. I mean, before we kind of go into him, I do want to say that there is a narrative that's slightly sort of built up, right? Like where I know maybe we're sensitive to it. Maybe I'm sensitive to it. Maybe I'm being oversensitive to it. But, it feels like whatever result Arsenal get, there's always something. There's some kind of negative spin on it. And this one, the stats, if you look at the stats for this game, the stats actually suggest that Leicester completely bossed us this game. The stats show Leicester, I think, having 65% possession. The stats show Leicester having a higher number of shots, completed passes, higher expected goals, you name it. It looks like they completely bossed this game. To be honest, for me, it felt like a scenario where you don't expect to go to Leicester or any decent team and be 2-0 up very, very quickly. And then after that, they're going to come at you. So you have to be streetwise about it, and you've got to sort of try and drop off a little bit and anticipate that they're going to attack. And it sort of felt like we did do that. But what did you think of that anyway? Do you think we dropped off in performance levels, or was it very, very intentional?
I think it's an interesting one, because I think at 2-0, I can imagine it's quite easy to, because I don't think this team have been in that position very many times under Arteta. 2-0 away at a very, very good team so early on in the game, like you said. So it might have just been a case of mentally it's just like a natural thing to do, isn't it? To drop off and almost rather than kind of going for the third. And I think that's the difference between, I'm not going to say us, but that's the difference between a very good team or a good team and an elite team. Like if you compare, if you think that City in that position, for example, Liverpool 2-0 up away at Leicester, they just go for the third and they go for the fourth and they go for the fifth. They just basically try and completely finish the game as early as possible. And I think obviously we've got a long way to go until we're there, but I think that's probably the difference, between say where we are and the best teams in the league. In terms of just having that mentality to go and kill off a game. So I think it's just a bit of that, really, mate. I wouldn't read too much into it. Like you said, Leicester are a very, very good team. They're at home. They're going to end up having I would have been very surprised. And I think all Arsenal fans would have been very surprised if we'd have just dominated that game for 90 minutes. That's not going to happen. So I think Leicester were always going to have that period. And I think we were just very, very good in that sort of 20, 25 minutes, that first part of the first half. And I think we just made Leicester look, like you said, kind of a little bit lost, a little bit bemused, not really sure what had just happened. And I think as a result, naturally they were going to come back into the game. And they did have their chances, to be fair.
They did have chances. And I felt that it was in the first half, towards the back end of the first half, it felt to me that largely our back four, the defenders were pretty in control. It didn't feel like they were exposed that much. But but they did start to towards the back end, right? And then one Aaron Ramsdale was, I mean, wow, I mean, where'd you start, right? Like many people have called it one of the most complete goalkeeping performances we've seen in Premier League history for a long time, because you can make a highlight reel of some of his saves, one in particular, which we can expand on. And on the other hand, his distribution, you could make a complete highlight reel around that. And some of the passes he was making, some of the techniques that he was using with these passes, the precision, you name it. Like, I mean, what a performance, mate. I mean, what did you think of it?
Yeah, look, I think I'm going to have to hold my hands up, because I was probably one of the many Arsenal fans, one of the many football fans that thought, like, I don't think I was critical. I'm trying to think back to kind of August or whatever. I wasn't critical of the signing. I was in the camp of, let's see what happens. But I was raising my eyebrows a little bit, thinking, what's going on here? It's a lot of money for, a young English goalkeeper, but surely there are other options out there that are, more established keepers, guys that have, probably proven themselves. And I sort of questioned it a little bit, but I was happy to give him the benefit of the doubt. And you see what he's done since he's come into the team. It's been not just in terms of his performances as well, but kind of how well he's connected with the fans. He's got that kind of winning mentality about him, which is, I thought something that we've probably been desperate for in that position for years. And I could probably talk about him just generally, how impressed I've been with him in general terms for every game that he's played in. But yeah, specifically on Saturday, the distribution point. I mean, it was kind of like watching Steven Gerrard playing as a goalkeeper. Like the way he was drilling these passes into Aubameyang and Lacazette. I was like, wow, it takes a lot of balls to be able to do that, because the one that was, I think he hit one or two bad ones, and the one bad one was when it ended up with Iheanacho, and he ended up saving it. He kind of redeemed himself because he ended up making that save, that fingertip save. But yeah, like I'm trying to think. Like, we talk about Ederson, we talk about Alisson as these goalkeepers who are fantastic goalkeepers, but especially good with their feet. And Ederson talks about how he feels like he could play outfield at some point in his career, and fair enough. But I don't watch these guys, every game to be able to judge, but I don't think I've ever seen them drill a ball into a centre forward or into an attacking midfielder as kind of hard and as direct as Ramsdale was on Saturday. And lucky enough for us, you've got kind of players like Aubameyang, Lacazette, Saka, who are obviously very good technically and happy to control a ball like that. And we were able to, and we were into their half. We were like, attacking their defense straight away from that. So, I'm more than happy to see that, to see him do that more in the future, because I think if he tries to sort of hit a pass like that 10 times in a game, there's probably going to be kind of 2 or 3 that are not going to make it. And I think you accept 2 or 3 not making it
totally
when you're getting sort of 6, 7 or whatever it is, 6, 7 or 8, getting into your striker, into your forwards that quickly when the other team haven't had a chance to like reset and get back into shape. It was unbelievable. Like I think Match of the Day touched on it. I don't know if you watched Match of the Day. They touched on it. They showed a little bit about it, but I mean, young, how old is he? 23 years old. He's got the balls to do that. Like, fair play to him. And very, very impressed with it.
Yeah, let's go on and expand on it. I mean, because I think one of the passes you're talking about, he basically half volleys like a side on half volley, ping like an arrow straight to Aubameyang in the centre circle, and it's just the confidence, the technique to be able to do that. I think what's really impressive is also that before he came to Arsenal, people talked about the teams that he had played with previously, and actually, according to the scouts, again, the people who are kind of, watching some of that in a lot more detail than me, there really wasn't that much to say that he was a player who could play with his feet that well, because the teams that he had played for before didn't really do it. Like, they didn't really want that of their keepers. There wasn't that much. There's been something, there's been pockets that has been enough for our scouting team and for Edu and Arteta to be like, this guy, no, he can do it. Yeah. he can really do it. So that's super impressive. And like, to your point about you'd be happy to see him do it, and even if a couple of those passes go misplace it. Ederson, Alisson, they misplace passes every game.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But they never get told to, change the way they are, because it's such an elite part of how their teams play. They facilitate a complete new set of permutations from just being able to play that way. And these are elite goalkeepers for elite teams that are trying to win the Champions League. So if Aaron Ramsdale is going to play that way and then screw up two or three passes a game, mate, I'm with you. I'm all for it because what he's doing at the moment is just world class. And I mean, that's just with his feet and, his saves, mate. I mean, some of these things he's making look quite easy. Sometimes you look at it and you go, oh yeah, you probably should save that one. And if he doesn't save it, it would have been a bad thing. But he's doing those, and then he's pulling off saves like he did in that free kick. I mean, let's talk about the Maddison free kick. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. What the hell? I mean, look, I thought it was in. I think everyone who was in the ground thought it was in. There's that angle of it from behind Maddison, like the camera angle, sorry, behind Maddison. You can see kind of half of the stand behind him, behind Ramsdale. That is. It looks like it's going in. Vardy celebrating. Brendan Rodgers thinks it's going in. It's one of those ones. I don't really know how you explain it. I mean, after the game, he said, I think he was being very, very harsh on himself because he said, "Look, I've trained with Maddison for the England under-21s before," sort of indicating I knew what he was going to do. And he said the free kick was pretty close to goal in terms of the distance. So he basically said Maddison wouldn't have been able to get too much power on it. He just had to kind of float it over the wall and under the bar. But yeah, I think he's being a bit unkind because it was just ridiculous. Like the only thing I would say that is not a criticism is that, but it's just a point. It's just making the point is that it wasn't in the corner. Like where it was landing, it wasn't in the corner. I think if he had a bit more accuracy on it, it was obviously a very, very good free kick. If he had a bit more accuracy on it, and it was slightly further to the right or his left, he probably wouldn't have got to it. So, but it was still an unbelievable save. It was just, I mean, I don't know. What do you say about it? Like, I don't know how he reached it. Very, very fast footwork to get across. And it's like that you see, like when you watch players warm up before a game, or you watch like the training videos and stuff, you see some of the drills they go through, and, like the whoever's training them will hit a ball for them to save low down, and then the next one's up in the air, so they have to go down and back up straight away. And it's like that explosiveness and that kind of reaction and building on that. And I guess it's like, I don't know, is it his natural ability? Is it the fact that he's, that's the kind of training that goalkeepers go through, and he just is able to implement that, having done it 1,000 times in training before? I don't know, but yeah, it was a ridiculous save. And yeah, I don't know. What did you think? Like, I'm not really sure how you put it into words. It was save of the season for me, but yeah.
It is save of the season for me. It's save of the season also because he makes a save like that and has a presence of mind of saying, "Where's the ball?" and gets it, and he makes a double save. It's a double save. Yeah. And then Partey manages to hoop. I think it's Partey anyway. But he mentioned this in the interview that you mentioned afterwards. He sort of said that he actually, because of the work that he had done with Maddison previously, he thought it would probably go the other way. Because and so I think in a way that probably is what makes it look more spectacular, because he's slightly wrong-footed at the beginning and he's gone the other way, and so he's got a lot of hang time, and that hang time just makes for the most beautiful picture. It looks amazing. But he gets there, and then he also mentioned it. He goes, and then at that point it's all about the training, right? Which I really like. It's really interesting when players say that, because sometimes you do wonder. I mean, we're not professional footballers, like, but sometimes you can maybe imagine how professional footballers train. But I've always wondered with goalkeepers what they do, all day, every day, like how many of those drills that you can do. And I guess a lot of these drills are like designed in ways which, would get your body used to this process of, dealing with dip and dealing with kind of swerve and, making sure that your body is shaped in the right position for your arm to be able to extend to its to its longest length. It's all about mechanics and it's just incredible. For me, mate, it's like when a goalkeeper makes a save like that, the attacking team must just, you get so demoralized, you're just like, well, it's just not going to be our day, is it? If a goalkeeper's going to be able to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair to Leicester, it didn't really, they still had their chances, right? Especially in the second half. But no, I know what you mean. I mean, like, it's a save that hopefully, like, I just like, I guess with Ramsdale in more general terms, right? Like I touched on it. I feel like he's still gonna have to do quite a lot to get the credit that he deserves. Like, I think he started to win a lot of Arsenal fans over, but I think there's a lot of people out there waiting for him to make that first big mistake, and then they're all going to come down on him. So, like, I think very, very impressive up till now. I hope it continues. He's clearly now our number one. There's no question about that. And I just hope that when that mistake comes, because it's going to come at some point, right? There's probably going to be a few clangers in the season, or there's going to be a few of those passes that he hits that doesn't make its target, and next time we do get punished. I just hope that people aren't too hard on him, and they take into consideration the saves that he's making at the moment, and the things that it's not just the saves as well. It's like what I said, it's the connection with the fans, and it's the mentality that he clearly is a winner. Like, this guy has come into the club. A lot of people thought he'd be our reserve keeper for the entire season, and maybe Leno. I thought he'd be a reserve keeper. Leno leaves at the end of the season, then he becomes our number one, having had a season to kind of integrate. And he's just gone and said, probably gone in training, gone into training sessions, and just turned up at the club and just, imposed himself.
Beast mode, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought, no, I've come to be number one. And he's done it straight away, pretty much. 3 or 4 games into the season. So, yeah, like on all of that, and like we saw, you probably saw it, like the banter with the Leicester fans. Did you see that?
Yeah. That was really funny. Yeah,
that was funny as well. So all these kinds of little things, and the celebration with Lacazette when we equalised in the last minute or in injury time and running up the pitch, all of these things, like, you'd love to see that kind of stuff as a fan. You really, really love to see that, like the passion that he's got, or having only been at the club for a few months is really, really good to see him. Yeah, I just hope it continues, and I hope he gets like the plaudits he deserves. Hopefully the England call up I know he's been called up before, but it feels like he should be knocking on Pickford's door really for number one. And hopefully he kind of gets that chance soon.
Yeah, look, for me, he's the best keeper in England right now, English keeper in England right now. I think Jordan Pickford has not let England down, which I think helps, Jordan Pickford's case, and Gareth Southgate just like to go with his tried and tested. But yeah, mate, I mean, going back to his kind of character and that passion, he looks like he's living his best life. He looks like he's so happy. It's like it's his dream job. And that point, you're right about the fact that when ultimately he's going to make a mistake, ultimately he's going to have a bad game, might have a bad 2 games, that might happen, and there are going to be fans that will get on his back because we have those. But what I'd like to think and what I'd hope is he came into the club with that cloud. He came into the club with so many people being like, what the hell, who is this guy? Pundits, fans, almost just wanting him to fail so they could turn around and go, what ridiculous scouting, what a ridiculous decision, spending 25 million on a backup keeper and random guy, all the stats. And he's come with that. And he's still excelled in this way, just not look fussed, not look bothered. He's just come in and gone and just done his thing. I really hope that if he does have those bad games, a bad game, whatever it is, and people do get on his back, I hope he refers back to that point in time and goes, do you know what? I can turn this around. It's not, and I hope so. He just looks like a really, really good character. And hey, that connection with that back five, I think it would be wrong necessarily to suggest that, in such a magnificent performance, the back five did a bad job. The rest of the back five did a bad job. I certainly did not feel that way. There weren't that many times where suddenly, Ramsdale is exposed and he's 1-on-1. I didn't think there were that many times where that happened.
There was, I agree with you. I don't think the back. I think the back five. The defense had a decent game. Gabriel was very, very good, I thought. The one criticism, one thing I noticed was with Ben White, and I'm not singling him out because I want to single out Ben White. It's just a couple of things I noticed. Was one with the free kick that we gave away in the first half that Ramsdale eventually made that save from, the Maddison free kick. I was a bit confused by what he was actually trying to do. I don't know if you remember it, but it was like,
it was a little nudge. Wasn't it?
It was kind of like the ball came into, it might have been Iheanacho, I could be wrong, but whichever Leicester player it came into, and he's sort of behind him or kind of side on, and he just kind of, I don't think he's really got a chance of winning the ball. So in that situation, you probably think he's just going to stand off, not stand off him, but basically just try and block any potential shot from the edge of the box. But instead, he sort of leans in, and you could quite clearly see like this movement of his like shoulder into the Leicester player's body, and it's just a really easy decision for the ref to make. Or maybe I'm not really sure what exactly happened there. So that was a bit of a weird one, and it could have cost us had it not been for Ramsdale. And the other one was in the second half. There was like I can't remember if it was when we had a throw or they had a throw and like Erdegaard gives the ball away on one side of the pitch, like near the edge of the box. And then he kind of gets the edge of the box and it might have been Harvey Barnes. I'm guessing, to be honest, I'm trying to remember, but White's on the edge of the box and he just kind of takes a swipe at the ball and it's kind of like the defending we've seen in the past where players are not fully committed, like defenders not been fully committed. And it was a bit of a weird one. I thought, again, he could either just stand his ground and kind of hold up the Leicester player and let him make a decision what he's going to do, or he just clears the ball and he just doesn't do either. And he takes a swipe at the ball, misses it. And I think it might have been Barnes, and I think he's through on goal. He's like kind of through on goal and Ramsdale comes out and just like smothers it. I don't know if you remember that one, maybe not. But yeah, like a couple of really, really minor criticisms. And I guess this is the kind of thing that hopefully if I've noticed it, and if I'm being fair in my judgment, then the coaches, have noticed it and just sort of point it out to him and advise him what he should do better in the next in future scenarios if that happens again. But yeah, like it's not like I said, not a criticism of Ben White, not a criticism of the defense. Yeah, I thought overall, like I said at the start, you had this really kind of solid. When we're not in possession, we had this really solid setup, and I really, really liked it. You know, this 4-4-2. We weren't pressing. You know, when Leicester had the ball in our half, we weren't pressing. We were just keeping the structure, keeping the shape, and I thought it worked really, really well. And it seems like the players are kind of getting the message about what they need to be doing in those situations. So it's overall very, very positive.
Yeah, very positive indeed. And we, even though Leicester were very much coming into it, very much you'd probably say like having the lion's share of the ball by the kind of 60-minute mark or whatever, there was around that time an incident with Johnny Evans, wasn't there? Like, because there was sort of a double incident, if you recall, because at this point I felt like Leicester were getting a little bit frustrated. You know, they're having more of the ball, but you know the goalkeeper's having a blind, and the defense are doing okay. And I remember Johnny Evans kicks out at Ramsdale. And there was a little bit of a scuffle. I don't remember. You know, that happened, and I sort of felt like, okay, fair enough. Like, you know, fine. The referee, you know, didn't give a yellow card for it, and okay, you know, some referees may have, but whatever. And very quickly after that is this instant where the ball comes, I believe it's played over the top, and you've got Aubameyang there, who, you know, they're quite high up into the half, so there's plenty of space to run into. And if Aubameyang gets behind, there's no way Johnny Evans is going to catch up with him. And Johnny Evans just absolutely.
Aaron will probably think you'll catch up with him because
I would.
Best friends are apparently. But yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I should. Actually, I don't know if we should speak badly about Johnny Evans. Aaron's getting really upset. Maybe
this was live. He'd be jumping on right now. He'd be logging into his Zoom to get onto us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He might be on some Leicester podcast somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he might be busy. But you know, yeah, his golden boy Johnny Evans. Rugby tackles, Aubameyang. You know, Johnny Evans has looked at the situation. He's just gone, listen, like, he's going to be clean for the wrong goal. I'm just going to like grab him and throw him on the floor and hope for the best. He does that, and the referee says, "Okay, it's a yellow card." The only way the referee gives that as a yellow card is if the referee believes that actually he has not denied a goal scoring opportunity, which is just absolutely bizarre. And as I think correctly analysed on, well, I watched Match of the Day, and you know, I haven't watched anything else, but anything else I've read, it seems to suggest that there's unanimous agreement that this is a red card. And you know, we saw 2 other red cards, I think, this weekend for very similar things. I mean, and at that point, you know, Leicester could have been down to 10 men, and you know, who knows what the score could have been after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those ones where we're lucky, or you know, not lucky, but it's good that we don't have to reflect on it as a decision that's cost us because of how the game went. But yeah, it is frustrating, and it's weird as well. Like, I don't know what the ref's seen there to think that Johnny Evans is going to make it back, let alone any of the other Leicester players. I mean, the only thing I can think that he's based it on is how far out from goal Aubameyang is. But like, I don't know, when the referees make these decisions, do they take into account the players that are involved? And like, do you think, like, do they look at it and think, okay, this is Aubameyang, he's fucking fast, he's going to make it, like he's going to be through on goal. Point. Or do they just I don't know, like, how do they make these decisions? And that's where it's like the inconsistency gets frustrating, and that's where it's mainly the inconsistency, to be honest, because we saw in the Man City game. I know you said there were 2 other ones. I think I've only seen the is it Laporte was the other one.
So I think there was one tonight at Villa.
Oh, okay.
I think someone from Villa got sent off, and I want to say that it was that I didn't watch the incident, but I read someone had tweeted. I think it was a concert that got sent off, and I think someone tweeted they were like, "Yeah, three of those three things happened: 2 red cards, 1 yellow, and the 1 yellow was Arsenal's."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's not a huge talking point because we won the game anyway. But if we hadn't have, then it's a game changing decision. And yeah, just like you like to see more consistency generally. And I think if, like I said, I've only seen the Laporte one, I haven't seen the Villa one. But if that was a red as well, and it's a similar situation, then obviously it indicates that the Aubameyang one probably should have been a red. You know, if you're kind of trying to compare all three on level terms. So yeah, I mean, one of these things you can't do anything about it, but
you can't do anything about it. But it's another one of those reasons why I sort of feel that like the notion that we were kind of battered and fairly like lucky to through a great goal, it just makes me disagree. You when you're 2-0 up away somewhere, like you said, for all these valid reasons, we're not Liverpool yet, we're not Man City yet, like whatever. You probably think, we've got to try and protect this and play on the counter, and then you hope things like that happen, where you hope you're going to expose them, and you should. So anyway, I mean, you're right. Look, we don't have to dwell on it too much.
It is the second red that hasn't been in last few weeks with the one on Saka where he gets booted. Yeah. Well, that was a clear red as well. So it's, I'm not saying, oh, boo-hoo, Arsenal get treated badly, but it's worth pointing out because hopefully these things are, even, as I say, even themselves out over the season. But yeah,
you'd hope so. But it's a win, mate, and we are now going into the Watford game on. It's still a fantastic run of form. And you think on paper that Watford game is kind of more straightforward. We're at home again. But I mean, like, before we talk about the Watford game specifically, is this the most positive you felt about this Arsenal team this season?
Oh yeah, this season, absolutely. Well, I guess I was very positive after the Spurs game.
Yeah.
But that's just grown since then with the performances and the results. So yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like, I think I said this because obviously I've not been on one of the pods in a few weeks, but one of the last ones I was on, I think I said something along the lines of, it might have been after the bad run or just after the Norwich game, around that kind of time. I said, look, I hope that Arteta is telling the players, look, because we were talking about it as fans and us discussing, we were talking about it, right? Like, we beat Norwich. Now we've got this run of games where a lot of these games are winnable, kind of up to Spurs and whatever. And we were sort of looking at how many points can we get, how are we going to do, what kind of run can we put together. And I think I said something along the lines of, look, I hope Arteta just drills into the players' heads, just literally take it game by game, like focus on the next game, focus on the plan, get the result, and then move on. And I feel like that's kind of what we've done. And he's adapted the team accordingly. He's adapted the tactics accordingly, and it all seems to be like working at the moment, which is, obviously, I'm very, very positive. And that's what I'm kind of hoping happens pretty much for the rest of the season. There's no Europe to worry about. You only have to worry about the next league game pretty much.
Yeah.
With roughly, generally a week's gap in between. So yeah, Watford in a few days time or in a week's time. Very, very much looking forward to that one, actually, because I think I'm go into that one confidently, and that's when it gets dangerous, because that's when you end up slipping up. But I think as a fan, I think we can go into that one fairly confidently. I mean, are we talking about Watford now? Are we moving on to that?
Yeah, we might as well naturally transition into that. Yeah, we're going in confidently. We are arguably the form team in the league, right? Like,
I think we're like second in the form table. I think Chelsea might be ahead of us, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, perhaps. So after the last 5 games, 1-3, drawn 2, we conceded very, very little. And now we're scoring goals more. I think we're averaging two plus a game at the moment, right? Like, and we currently sit in 6th place. And we are equal points with Man United in 5th, 3 points off West Ham in 4th, and Man City also have 20 points, so just 3 points off those guys. It's mate, we played 3, lost 3, scored 0 at one point, right? And people were talking about how this is just, there's no way he's going to be able to turn this around. We had all these other teams which are doing so much better. I mean, look, there's no point being a broken record and having this conversation every time we win a game. But 10 games is a decent chunk of games, and where we are right now is 3 points off fourth. I mean, you'd have taken that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, the turnaround's been remarkable when you put it like that. And you look at the kind of story of the season. Absolutely, yeah, really, you've got to give everyone credit, really. You've got to give everyone credit. There's obviously that kind of frustrating Palace draw in there. The draw against, was it Brighton?
Yeah.
But sometimes you're taking away point. But yeah, like everything has just improved remarkably. Ramsdale coming in, I think he's only conceded like 3 goals since he's been in the team, 3 goals in like 7 games. Yeah, like you said, we're scoring more goals. The defense looks solid. We've got a consistent back 4. We've not had Xhaka in the team. We've not had Tierney in the team for the last couple of games. So all in all, yeah, absolutely, like massive props to Arteta and the players. And yeah, let's see. It's kind of like we keep having these international breaks, so it'd be nice to finish this kind of section of the season before the next international break, i.e. the Watford game. It'd be nice to finish it on another win, and then we're really kind of pushing the big boys.
Yeah, exactly. And Watford are a bit of a weird team. Yeah, they are obviously Ranieri's come in. He's had a couple of games now. He has beaten Everton away in a really, really kind of surprising 5-2. And now he's just lost at home to Southampton 1-0. I think where are they? They 15th. Are they 15th in the league? I mean, look, on paper, look, 60th. Yeah, you're right, 16th in the league. Look, on paper, this is a game that even Arsenal not being in the form that we are should be winning at home. But you'd really expect us to win, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, I think I'll go into this game expecting us to get 3 points and nothing less. And I think you have to. Like, I think this is the kind of game, like you said, they're a bit of a random team. Like Ranieri was just coming, I think it's like 3 games in. The results have been like all over the place. Was it 5-0 to Liverpool? They lost, and then 5, scoring 5 the next game and then losing the next game at home. It's just all really weird. So you can't really assess or analyze what Watford are going to bring. But you just focus, like, as from an Arsenal perspective, you just focus on everything that we've been doing really, really well. And you start the game in exactly the same fashion as we've been starting the last couple of games, out the blocks really fast, take it to them, and hopefully we can get early goals and not necessarily finish the game, in the first half, but get the goals that put us ahead and kind of make it a bit of an easier ride for the rest of the game. I think the crowd will be really, really well up for it. Like as they have been. I know you and Aaron were talking about this in the last episode. Why have the crowd been up for, or the fact that the crowd, have been up for all the home games so far, even the League Cup games. It's been very, very good in terms of the atmosphere. So I think that should really help. I think not that we've necessarily missed him too much, but maybe Tierney might be back. I don't think there was any other new injury concern. So overall, again, we should go into it positively, and I fully expect us to come out with a win. I'll put it this way: I'll be pissed off and disappointed if we don't win this game.
Do you think there's any danger of a kind of post positivity hangover? Like if we think back to the Tottenham game where we battered Tottenham and then played Brighton, and there was a little bit of lack of edge because on paper it wasn't as big a game. Maybe I'm just. I
don't think so. I think like I was saying, is they're taking it on a game by game basis, and I think they're kind of getting themselves up and ready for each game as it comes, because they've got the preparation time to do that, right? And they've got the time to kind of analyze and assess the next opponent and without having to worry about, Europa League distractions and all of that. So I just feel like they'll come into the game fully prepared, and I can't see that happening, mate. Unless something like weird happens, like there's a red card or a dodgy penalty or something like that, I can't really see. I can't see us taking the game lightly, to be honest. The league is all we have to focus on. Well, arguably, the league is all we have to focus on, right? It's the main priority, it's the key priority. Like there's no Europe, so. And I think now these players must be looking at us thinking, bloody hell, like we're all of a sudden 5th in the league, and we're not even that far off. Okay, fine. This is not me. I'm not saying that we're going to be challenging for the league, but we're not that far off the top, and we're not that far off City, I think, are in 3rd. So the rewards for winning the game are huge before the international break. Like we could potentially be in the Champions League places if we win this game, and it's a very favorable fixture. So I think the players might be looking at it and licking their lips a little, not licking their lips, but looking at it and thinking, yeah, there's definitely a big reward at the end of this if we can get 3 points.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the team should and are taking things on a game by game basis. Like it does feel like they are grounded in that way. But I think they will be motivated by the fact that realistically, yeah, like look, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City for me are the best 3 teams of the country, and I don't think I don't think we'll touch them this season in terms of. I don't think we're breaking into that top 3. Don't get me wrong, but the way that Man United have been, the way that Tottenham have been, both those teams, they haven't really resolved any of their issues. Who knows what's going to happen there? West Ham are doing well, of course, but there's no reason why 4th is not achievable if we just get our head down and do what we do. And I think they'll know that. But the players, it feels like they're grounded enough to know the moment they stop focusing, the moment they start dropping points or just like not fighting as hard as they need to fight, it's just not going to happen. But you're right. We've got the ability to focus on it without Europe, and that should be good. So I mean, like, look, let's do a quick prediction. Because there's a couple of other non-Arsenal stuff worth touching on. So with regards to Watford, like, what do you think the score's going to be?
I think it will be. I think we'll score a few more goals again as we have been. I'm going to go 3-1. Villa was 3-1, wasn't it? I think it'll be another 3-1.
Okay, so you think Watford will score?
Yeah,
that's interesting. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with 2-0. I think we'll win 2-0.
Say that. I was thinking 2-0 in my head.
The thing is with 2-0, I just can't pick. I don't like predicting 2-0 because I can never really visualize a 2-0 game, what a 2-0 game really, how that plays out, if that makes sense. Because 3-1 to me always indicates that either it's a case where like you've battered a team, they've scored a consolation goal.
Yeah.
Or it's been like 1-1 and actually then one team then gets to the next goal, and then when the other team's chasing it, you go and score the third. 2-0, I always feel like it's just a really weird. I can never visualize that game. I'm going to go 2-0. The reason why I'm just going to go with 2-0 is because I think we're defending. We're so resolute. I don't think Watford aren't going to give us the same challenge as Leicester is, and if assuming we stay focused, I think we should be able to keep a clean sheet. But I think ultimately, like I still think our attack needs some work. I still think that we need to do more to create more kind of clear-cut chances. I still don't think we're doing that as well. So I think that needs improvement. And I do think there might be a small episode of fatigue, perhaps just that might kick in. But okay. Yeah, you know what? Like, there's a few other things that did happen, but I think what we might do is explore some of those separately on another episode, because United did lose. United beat Tottenham in what was being billed the El Sakiko, I think it was called. And so it'll be really interesting to see what the fallout of that is. It does seem like, has Oli secured his job as a result of this? Will Nuno leave his job because there's some rumors in the press? So maybe we will record later and release that separately. But listen, for now, any thoughts, Mize, on any closing thoughts on what was overall a great weekend for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've kind of, the theme of this episode has been very positive, right? Rightly so. And I think we've got a lot to be positive about at the moment. It could all go horribly wrong in the space of a couple of games. Who knows what happens against Watford? Who knows what happens after the international break? But at the moment, things are looking very, very good. So I think as Arsenal fans, considering kind of, I don't like using this term, but how much we've suffered. And I don't mean that because really we haven't suffered when you compare our situation to a lot of other clubs. We've still been lucky. We're still winning trophies in the last 10 years or so, but things are looking really, really good. And especially considering the start to the season. So yeah, long may it continue. And a very, very impressive win. And yeah, Aaron Ramsdale, man, top guy.
What a man. What a hero. Wicked. I think we leave it with that, with an Aaron Ramsdale appreciation moment. But cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Arseholics podcast. Can you please if you do like, if you did enjoy yourselves, can you please make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those kind of funky things. I don't think we probably do. Yeah, we probably don't do enough to try and remind people to do that. But we'd be really, really grateful if you can. And even like on Spotify and stuff like that, if you do listen to us on those platforms, if you do the auto download thing, then that really helps us as well. Ultimately, like it just helps more people kind of get access to us. If they were to search for an Arsenal podcast, the more people that listen, the higher up it gets. So, if you do like us, please do that. But otherwise, guys, have a fantastic week, everyone. We've got a few days until our next Arsenal fixture. It's over a week break, which I think is the benefit of, as we've discussed, the benefit of not being in the Champions League or Europa League or Europa Conference or whatever. So let's hope the boys get some good rest and recuperation and prepare for like what is, like all games, a really bloody important one. So cool. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
See ya.